Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augment Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host, as usual. And obviously, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 78 of the show. And today is a very special day because for most of us that live in the United States, or, if you celebrate it as well, Merry Christmas to everyone. Obviously, today's episode lands on the 25th of December, which, obviously we celebrate Christmas. And, depending on your own beliefs and everything, it's a different thing, it's fine. But obviously, Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas Eve with your family and, had some fun time. And if you're still spending time with your family, then yeah, that's awesome. That's the whole point. It's a wonderful holiday to spend time with the family or even friends too, and just have a good time, And obviously, I will say this too, if you're listening to today's episode, then thank you so much for your time and, taking time every day and just listening to the show on Christmas. And, it really means a lot to me, because obviously this is a big year. Obviously my first Christmas special, so because that's what today's episode is, a Christmas special. And it's very interesting, because it's my first time doing this, but there's so much to go over, because this has been a very big year. And I want to do today's episode as more of a recap of not of what we've done as a channel, or I don't know what you want to call us, a show, really. I think that's a better term to use, but I'd say just overall, because it's a very interesting time, that when we look back at it, technology has been such an incredible thing this year that there's been really, really big innovations, big jumps, upsets, and just not just in the smartphone market, but also in the, for PC parts or, in general, like obviously in terms of TVs, with 8K TVs, laptops making big improvements as well. Obviously games coming out, and I think there's so much, but I primarily want to focus on not only my improvements that I've made so far this year and what I'm grateful for, because obviously Christmas is a wonderful time to give thanks. Well, it's not Thanksgiving, but you get what I mean. It's a wonderful time to reflect on what has happened so far in this year, because obviously in a few days it's going to be New Year's. So I think it's a great time to reflect and, think about it. So let's talk about my tech, because I think this is where a lot of stuff has changed very quickly, based too as well. I want to start with where I was at the beginning of this year, and let's jump over to where we're at now. So at the start of this year, I obviously still had my HP Element 15, my gaming laptop that I had for college. I barely had just gotten my iPad Pro, my 10.5 inch originally. And I had also gotten my Blue Yeti, the full big Blue Yeti, for Christmas, so I can start recording the show and doing everything like that. I also had my Switch at that time, and Willis, because my Switch is a constant. My Xbox as well, I still had my Xbox. And as time went by, obviously as we started the show, it was getting more and more comfortable with the equipment, because it was interesting, because when I started, I had an idea in my head. And that idea was just, I'll use the Yeti, just do it in my room, use my laptop, just take it wherever I go, and carry around pretty hefty equipment and record the show and just have fun. And as time went by and I got more used to the software and got used to the whole process behind it and understanding what good audio quality sounds like, I eventually upgraded my equipment. So I was like, okay, so let's go to an XLR setup. And from there, I bought my PreSonus AudioBox USB 96. I bought a Samson C01 microphone. It's a condenser microphone. And then I also bought like a cheap little like XLR microphone on Amazon. Regret that horribly because I never used it. And from there, I was like, okay, I like how this sounds. I'm getting used to it. Like, obviously, it sounds better because, a new setup and everything in the audio box. But as time went by, the audio box started to have a little bit of issues where it would always cause a lot of static and it would just mess up the audio files and it wouldn't sound nice. So I was like, okay, what can we do to make this more mobile and make this whole setup, easier to move, but more reliable, and it sounds so much better. So I did a little bit of research, did a little bit of digging, and I took my friend's advice, and I'm like, Josh, why don't you go with the Shure SM58? The Shure SM58, if many of you that know, if you guys know about audio equipment, is considered an industry standard. It's what we call the Nokia 3310 of the microphone business, of audio in general, because this thing is a ridiculous microphone that's been beat up I don't even know how many times. Not mine specifically, I'm just saying, like, in general, people have beaten this microphone up, and I've seen extreme use cases where somebody ran it over the bus and used it to preach at a church. So these microphones are very durable because they've been around for a very long time. So I was like, okay, let's get a Shure SM58. And luckily I was able to find one for $70. A guy sold me it. He just had it for like a week, and he only used it for like one recording. And so I was like, great. And then what I also did was I took my friend Ryan's advice and I bought a Zoom H4n Pro, because Ryan has a Zoom H6, and I've used that before on the show when I did the talks with Ryan and everything. We used that to record, and it was really nice because the 4N Pro, specifically the 4N Pro, has the same drivers as the H6. The only difference is instead of 4 XLR ports, it has 2, so more focused on like 2 people talking or just 1 person. And I got it for $150, which was really nice instead of the normal about $280 is where this sucker usually lands. So I got a good discount on it, and it was in great condition, nothing wrong. He gave me an SD card with it and everything, and it was nice. And from there, I ended up getting my Shure. I had my Shure SM, my Sennheiser H280 Pros. I had these for a while now, and so I ended up keeping these, and I still use these for tracking. I'm still using it to record today's episode. I'm being honest with y'all because, I love this. I love these headphones so much. They're great for tracking. They're great for just recording, and essentially that's what I use them for. And then eventually I ended up getting another pair of headphones just for casual listening and for gaming on the computer. I bought the Audio-Technica M50Xs. Obviously, for you guys that know those headphones, a lot of people love those headphones, and a lot of people hate these headphones. And understandable, because for the audio engineers, they hate these headphones with burning passion because they're not flat. And I understand why, because people like flat so it can get more accurate reproduction of what you're listening to, and it actually sounds, you're listening to how it's supposed to be listened to as flat, and it makes it easy to work with. So from there, we ended up getting another SM58. It's the M58S, which is the same thing. It just has a switch, and I got it for $80. So I was like, great. So I have 2 of these suckers. So obviously doing interviews and everything is going to be smooth. And then from there, we're already in the summer at this point. So during the summer, I sold my laptop and I built my own rig, my first computer rig. And obviously the King's Engine's right here next to me. That's what I called it, the King's Engine. And this computer has been great. I have loved it. Obviously my starting rig is different than what I have right now. My starting rig had a Ryzen 2600X, a Ryzen 5 2600X. I had 16 gigabytes of 3200 megahertz RAM. I had a 1070, a GTX 1070. I also had, 4 fans, obviously the 2 stock fans and then 2 Corsairs that I put in there. I had a 480 gigabyte SSD from Inland, SATA 6. I also put a 2 terabyte Barracuda, Seagate Barracuda inside this thing. And overall, I've been having a great time. Obviously, my computer is running all my games at max ultra settings without any issue, no bottlenecking, nothing. So it's great. And then from there, obviously I sold my laptop, so I didn't have that anymore. And then from there, I ended up, just keeping the rig, took it to school, and then I also got my new iPad as well. I got my 11-inch iPad Pro, the 2018 model. I got it from my friend, so shout out to my friend for giving. I don't know, he doesn't want to name drop me because he doesn't want me to name drop him because he always gets on my grill about it. But love you too, brother. Love you. But overall, from there, we got my new iPad. I bought my Logitech keyboard, and then we go into the main piece, which obviously is my daily driver. As I've talked about it many times, that as I talked about many times, my OnePlus 7 Pro. And my OnePlus 7 Pro, I love this thing to death because it has been one of my favorite experiences with a smartphone so far. Obviously, it is a flagship from this year. Well, not considered a flagship, but you get what I mean. Like, overall, my experience using this phone has been great. I've already talked about it in depth in a episode I did with my experience with the OnePlus 7 Pro. So you guys can go listen to that after this if you really want to know my take on it. But then we went from the OnePlus 7 Pro, and then we went to college. And then from there, during that little time period, I did pick up some little nifty some other nifty goodies. So I got my DT770 Pros. Those are my Beyerdynamic, the new headphones for editing the show on the rig. I also ended up buying an Elite Series 2 controller for the Xbox. So I love this controller. I will say this now. I see why a lot of people like this controller. I think it's still very pricey. You're paying a premium, but I think for the premium, especially if you're a student, $150 for the controller is not bad. You get your money's worth, because if you're going to take gaming a little bit more seriously and you want to be more, a little bit more professional on console, I would highly recommend getting this controller. It is a exceptional controller in my opinion. Obviously, I've only had it for about a week now, and I would say I'll eventually talk about it so I can give you more extended feedback on it and let you guys know what I think about it. And from there, we also upgraded my computer recently. We actually updated it on the day yesterday. We actually updated it yesterday, and we got a 2060 Super inside of it. I originally had bought a new CPU, and I ended up having some issues where the BIOS was being really buggy. So I was like, you know what? Forget it. Just forget it. And it doesn't bottleneck with my new card. They actually work perfectly together, the 2600X and the 2060 Super. So, just keep it like that for a while and just stay like that. And then from there, we ended up getting, and I think overall in terms of tech, that's all I got, Besides, I skipped my Bullet Wireless too. I bought those recently too in November. So we did skip those. So sorry about that. But overall, that's my experience with tech. Obviously little other goodies here and there, but they're not notable unless you want to count my Stream Deck, which helps for editing and everything. But, love this little thing. And then in terms of tech overall, really big year. So let's start with smartphones because I think that's the easiest place to start. When we start from the, what's it called? The smartphone market. Let's see. We had, at the start of the year, we had the LG G8, and then we had the Samsung Galaxy S10 and S10 Plus and S10e. So we had those three phones. Well, four. Obviously, LG made the G8, I will say this, a very underrated phone, but also a very exceptional product as well. The S10 series, obviously, a lot of people really like them, and it's still one of my favorite phones of the year overall. From there, we ended up going towards I think after that, we ended up getting the Pixel 3a and the 3a XL, and then we got the OnePlus 7 Pro, and then the OnePlus 7, which in other markets, and obviously we also had the Huawei P30 Pros in there as well. We also had the Remedy, the K20, K20 Pro. We had, obviously then we ended up getting the OnePlus 7T, and then we get the Google Pixel 4, and then the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus, and then you get the iPhones. And overall, and then obviously the LG V50 as well. I can't forget the LG V50 and the Sony Xperia phone. We got that as well. We also got, there's so many phones we got this year. And that's kind of like the whole point too, if you think about it, because that's essentially what happened is we got so many good phones this year. Also, we got the Asus ROG Phone 2, which a lot of people really like that for gamers. And this has just been a crazy year for smartphones, guys. I'm being honest. Very, very exceptional phones. Every phone good in their categories. And I think there's a lot of options because that's what is healthy for the market overall. Even though, yes, we'll be honest, the smartphone market is still on a decline. It's still not increasing. We'll be honest, it's still not. But we definitely did get some good products this year. I'm not going to lie. We did. because I have one. I have the OnePlus 7 Pro. I've tested out the LG V50. I've gotten to use the Note 10 Plus because my friend Gilberto has it. The new iPhones, I've got to test them out as well, which really exceptional from what I've gotten to test out of them. I've got to test the Samsung Galaxy S10 and S10 Plus, so I've tested those. And overall, it's just been a crazy year for smartphones. A lot of good quality phones this year. Now, I will say this. There are some phones that bump people out and expectations were not, met for most people. Let's be honest. Like, most people were disappointed with the Pixel 4 line, which I agree. I was a little bit disappointed, but I'm not going to dog the phone like everyone else because, come on, guys. Let's be real here. Like, let's be more honest. This is not a disappointment. This is not a flop. The only flop that came out this year was the Galaxy Fold. That's the true flop of the year. And anybody that says other, like, this is my opinion. My opinion is the Pixel 4 is not a flop. It is still a good phone. It is still a good phone for specific use cases. To be honest, the only flop was the Galaxy Fold. That was the actual flop because it broke in actual users' hands. They had to recall it, cancel pre-orders. And we didn't get it launched for like a couple months. And then they finally launched it, and still kind of buggy and everything. But I get some people say folding phones are the future and everything. I still say no, they're not. This is not practical. This is not a good step in the right direction. I say making accessories to give phones multiple screens is a much better solution because then you get the option. It's more practical and it's, more useful instead of, bricking your phone. You can actually use your phone like a phone and not just some weird hybrid that bricks. But I'd say overall for smartphones, we definitely had a very crazy year so far. Crazy year. And I think it's been very incredible on what we've seen. And I just can't wait to see what happens. Now, going into computer parts, obviously, Intel versus AMD, a very, very landslide victory for AMD this year. There is no debate. I know some people are going to say I'm an AMD fanboy, but we're trying to be as objective as possible and as objective as I can be. Objectively speaking, yes, the AMD processor slapped the Intel processors across the head, and very, very decisively. There's not really much competition here, guys. And it's crazy to think about it. Because AMD came out with the 3rd gen Ryzens, and then obviously the new Threadripper coming out as well. And the 3rd gen Ryzen CPUs were just, wow. Like, that's really good performance for the price. Obviously, the fact that now consumers can get a 16-core, 32-thread processor on the market is just, that's insane. Yeah, that's actually insane. And overall, it's just been an incredible year for computer parts. Obviously, we also got new AMD graphics cards, which the 570 XT, and then we also had the 5700 XT, and then the 5500 XT. We got those. It's just been, wow. Like, we have gotten some beef. I think that's like the only word I can use. We got so much beef from AMD this year that AMD they came out swinging. They're definitely out here swinging for the fences. They're providing a lot of bang for the buck, and I think that's what's incredible. Is AMD definitely stepped up their game, made some incredible products this year. Obviously, yes, the graphics cards are still a little bit buggy with drivers because they're still fairly new cards. So as time goes by, the driver updates, they'll be better, and obviously with the third-party cards now they're running cooler, so nice. But in terms of computer parts, it has been a very exceptional year, and I obviously say right now is a good time to buy computer parts. Like right now, like it's definitely a good time. There's a lot of good sales going on, a lot of parts on discount, a lot of bundles going on to get good motherboards, good CPUs, and good RAM together. And overall, it's just a great time to buy. Overall, and then obviously, the super cards are out, or you can go AMD cards because the AMD cards, now with the new drivers and everything, they're really good and good for the price as well and performance. I'd say going from there, we obviously in terms of tech overall, like outside of computers and smartphones, electric cars definitely making big improvements this year. Obviously, you had Ford partnering with Rivian to make an electric truck. Obviously, Ford came out with their own electric vehicle. Then we had the Tesla Cybertruck. Oh boy. The Tesla Cybertruck, and then the Rivian. And then we got the Porsche electric car as well, the Taycan. And wow, EVs definitely are getting a shot in the arm right now. They're definitely getting more popular. Like, they were already popular vehicles to begin with, but they're becoming more and more popular. Now they're becoming more affordable. We're still not there that they're as affordable, but we're getting there. And I know that in time, it will be much more accessible. I know that for sure. The Tesla Cybertruck, like I said before in the breakdown we did of the Tesla Cybertruck, Elon had to make the truck look the way he did in order to make it stick out and, like, get everyone's attention. Because if you just made a truck that looked like an F-150 or something, you're not going to get much people's attention. If anything, they're just going to say you copied a design. But he definitely went overboard, and it worked. It got everyone's attention. It got people talking. Obviously, the specs of the truck itself are very incredible. And it's going to be very interesting because truck owners are a very key market, because if you bring them in, they'll come back and buy a couple trucks from you in their lifetime, like 4 or 5 in their lifetime, and they're loyal. So, I think from that, obviously electric vehicles are becoming more and more popular. Obviously electric trucks are now getting some, oomph. They're getting some, I'd say some proper push in that direction now, because a lot of people have been wanting electric trucks. Obviously Tesla and the Rivian will be the main comparison next year going into it. But overall, EVs are in I wouldn't say a healthy spot, but they're in a better place now that they're becoming more affordable. More people are being interested in buying them, and it's just getting nicer and nicer, And I think, obviously, in terms of gaming, very incredible year for gaming so far. Many good games that came out this year. Obviously, we had Pokemon, we had Smash Bros. We had, what else did we have? Actually, no, Smash came out last year, my bad. No, we had Smash Bros. Did get some, because obviously we got the new characters. We got Banjo, we got Terry, we got Joke. Like, we got a lot of good DLC characters this year. Overall, and then also we got Jedi Fallen Order, a very good game that a lot of people liked. Death Stranding came out. We also had, Devil May Cry 5. We had, obviously updates for Rainbow Six Siege with the new operators. We got some new Switch games. We got Pokemon Sword and Shield come out as well. Overall, I'd say gaming is in a good spot right now. In terms of games, there's a lot of good games, and obviously we got the reveal of the new Xbox, and, we got to see a little bit of gameplay for the next Halo. Obviously, the Master Chief Collection is now on PC, so gaming is in a good spot. Overall, when we look at it, reflecting, it's a good year. It's been a good year, and I think overall for tech and video games, even companies in terms of business, like a lot of good business deals have been going on, obviously, in terms of T-Mobile buying Sprint, or T-Mobile merging with Sprint, and, Apple becoming the first $1 trillion company. And we just had so much, and it's just, it's crazy. And a lot of companies have had a good year this year. Obviously, Apple is definitely very good because they came out with the new 16-inch MacBook Pro. AirPods are becoming incredibly successful. The new Mac Pro. We have, the new iPhones. We had, the new iPads, and just so much. And Apple's definitely been stepping up their game, and it's very, very refreshing in terms of business. In terms of Apple stepping up their game, Microsoft making the new Surface laptop and Surface Pros, making the Surface Pro X, and making new products. And obviously Nvidia and AMD doing very good on their side. AMD doing much better. Intel struggling a little bit because their CPUs are now falling behind, but I know Intel will pull it back. They always have something up their sleeve, because now they know they got competition. So, and competition is always great for the market, because the consumer wins in general. That's what happens, is when there's competition, we as consumers win, because everyone steps up their game. But overall, it's been a great year, and I'm excited to see what happens in 2019 going into it, or 2020. What am I talking about? 2019. We're in 2019, man. Starting to go crazy out here. But overall, great year, and I'm excited to see what 2020 holds for us. Obviously, I hope you guys are enjoying your Christmas with your families. Again, I'm very thankful that you guys have taken time out of your day to listen to today's episode, and it would really mean a lot to me if you guys keep sharing the episodes, keep liking the episodes, keep giving me your feedback, keep letting me know what you guys want me to talk about, because it really helps. And, you know, because it helps me be consistent and be more direct with y'all and have more of a, you know, a healthy relationship that you guys can ask me questions. You guys can ask for topics. I'll talk about it, you know, give you my take on it and, you know, go from there. And overall, it's just been very incredible. I'm incredibly blessed. I'm incredibly grateful for all the opportunities I've been given. And we'll definitely reflect on more of the personal stuff on the New Year special. But until then, I thank you guys so much for your time. Merry Christmas to all of you. Love you guys to death. Enjoy this holiday. Please be safe. You know, if you're traveling, have safe travels. I hope you guys have a wonderful time wherever you're going. And if you guys are just staying where you guys are, then that's great too. You know, just enjoy time with your family. That's family and friends, you know. It's kind of the thing that we always say is, you know, familia comes first. You know, the family is everything. And it's such an incredible thing. But until then, thank you guys so much for your time. I love you guys to death. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys. Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.